collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Deluxe Class Autobot Point Blank with Autobot Peacemaker from the Transformers Legacy line from Hasbro. So this is our second Autobot Target Master. The first one we got was Crosshairs way back in Siege, and even he was just kind of a repaint slash retool of Siege Ironhide. But this is our first brand new mold for an Autobot Target Master, and is a nice update to the original G1 figure. It looks pretty fantastic here. We have some nice artwork of the car mode here on the front, some nice artwork of the robot mode here on the side. Over here is that typical Autobot kind of picture we get on the side of all the Autobots for Legacy. Not really much going on the top or the bottom. And on the back here we have nice product shots for both the robot mode and vehicle mode for Point Blank, and then the robot mode and gun mode for Peacemaker. And then here is the QR code for the tech specs, so you can check those out if you wish. Pretty standard packaging, but it looks pretty nice. I'm going to go ahead and get them out of the box, and we'll take a closer look. So here are Point Blank and Peacemaker out of the packaging. We'll start over here with Peacemaker real quick. We can get through him pretty quickly. Now, obviously, he has no articulation what to speak of, so it's kind of a step back from the Target Masters we saw as part of the Battle Masters with Siege. But I get it. I mean, they had to pack this in with a deluxe figure and kind of keep the price point the same. So they kind of had to go back a little bit in terms of articulation. Really all we're missing is kind of ball joints at the shoulders and ball joints at the hips. Didn't really pose those figures out too much anyway. But, you know, it is what it is. This is kind of more nostalgic, though. Like, it has that G1 nostalgic charm to it. And while I understand it is kind of a step backwards, I still like it. And it's got some nice paint applications. The visor and the face are done very nice. A little bit of paint here on the chest and the shoulders. But otherwise, it's just different colored plastic. Transformation, very simple. You're going to bend him at the waist. You are going to flip out the barrel, and there you go. There is your Target Master. Honestly, it's very similar to the original G1 toy. I think the original G1 toy had the barrel of the gun just continue down like this. And so that all you did was flip the legs back, and then it exposed the barrel of the gun, and you were done. But they've put the barrel over here on this side. Now, I think it's kind of neat that he's got a peg here and here, so obviously this is where he's supposed to hold it. This almost makes me feel like maybe, and maybe it's a stretch, but maybe this is a nod to the Japanese Headmasters cartoon, because in that show, they didn't hold the guns. Their hands retracted, and then the guns pegged into where their hands would be. And that's kind of how they like bonded together, kind of like the way the Headmasters bond. So you can't really pull that off here, but I almost wonder if that's kind of like a, you know, maybe a slight nod to something like that, or just to give you some more possibilities, pegging this guy in different places. Let me just make sure. I think this probably could. Yeah, this could fit like that. So, I mean, it looks weird for him to hold it like that, but you could maybe find some other places, maybe in the vehicle mode or other figures or something where you could peg it in that way. And it almost feels like it's a nod to that original cartoon from Japan. Again, maybe a stretch. Maybe I'm just reading into things, but you never know. Could be. So we'll transform him back, and then we're just going to put him off to the side because he doesn't do too much else. But here is Point Blank. And full disclosure, for some reason my brain keeps wanting to call him Point Break. But that is not his name. So if at some point I accidentally call him Point Break, apologies. I know his name is Point Blank. So hopefully we can do this correctly. But here we go. He looks pretty good. I mean, he's a little lanky. I don't so much like that the hips are so far away from the body. I understand why they need to be for transformation. But I feel like there's a decent amount of space in between there that I'm not super fond of. But it is what it is. Head sculpt looks pretty good. Now, they went with the cartoon accurate head sculpt as opposed to the original toy head sculpt. The original toy had more of like a side swipe looking head. But here they decided to go for the cartoon accurate head sculpt. But it looks good. I mean, the visor's nice. The face painted nicely. I think that looks pretty good. You have a ball joint here. You can look side to side, no problem. Can't really tilt forward, back all that much. This panel comes up, but that's not really head tilt. And you can't really tilt side to side at all. You do have a rotation here in the shoulder, as well as a hinge at this part of the shoulder. You have a ball joint. No, it's just a hinge. Swivel here. You have the elbow. Now, of course, this piece here is going to hit into the shoulder, into that wheel there, so it can't really go full 90 degrees, but it's pretty close. You can always raise it up like that if you need to. Do we have a wrist swivel? We do not. That appears to be one solid piece there. You do have a waist swivel. You do have hips that can kick really far out to the side, really far back, really far forward, really nothing impeding the hip joint there. You have a thigh swivel. You have over 90 degrees in the knee because of how it transforms. And then you do have some ankle tilt side to side. And you can kind of bend the toe as well, again, because of transformation. So you should be able to pull off some pretty good poses with this guy. I think he looks pretty good. Really doesn't have any kibble. He's got this tiny little bit of the window there on the back, and that's really it. Now, they do show off in the directions that you can transform him into kind of a block, and then lift this up and store him here on the back. Could kind of pretend maybe he's like a little jetpack or something, or if you just want storage, you can store him there on the back, so that's kind of neat. Putting that back down, we can flip the barrel out for the full gun transformation, and then of course he can hold him as he is meant to, having his target master partner there. And here is Crosshairs, way back from Siege. They look good together. I think it's cool. I just need Sure Shot now to complete the trio. I think these guys work together. I really do. Honestly, yes, he was a repaint / remold of Siege Ironhide, but I thought it was alright. I didn't think it was that bad. The colors really popped. I loved the head sculpt. I like having two of the Autobot Target Masters. I don't know why it's taken this long. We got through like all the Decepticon Target Masters back in Siege. And, you know, not really sure why it's taken this long, but hurry up and give us Sure Shot so we can finish off the trio. Now, I did want to point out here, this gun did not come with him because Siege did not give him a Target Master partner, just gave him that hammer accessory that came with Ironhide. But this is Pinpointer. This is his Target Master partner. This is actually from the Takara Legends line when they were doing all of the Target Masters for like Hot Rod, Cup, Blur. They did the 3 Target Master partners for the Autobot Target Masters, even though they didn't do toys for them. So this actually came with Windblade. And then I think Sure Shot's partner, Spoil Sport, came with, I want to say, Twin Twist? And then I think Peacemaker came with Top Spin. Now, I have looked everywhere. I've had this with Crosshairs for a while, and I do not know where the Peacemaker one is that came with Top Spin. I've looked everywhere. I really wanted to do a direct comparison here, but I cannot find it. So if I somehow find it, I'll post it on my Twitter or something, or Instagram to do a comparison, a little update. But I really spent a considerable amount of time looking for it, and I'm sure it's somewhere. I just don't know where it is. I don't think I've lost it. But I wanted to do a comparison here so I can at least show you they're not the exact same character, because I cannot find the Takara version of Peacemaker, but I can at least show you here with Pinpointer the difference in articulation, because these are even a little fancier than like the Battle Masters from Siege. So you can see, you know, they all looked very similar. They were all a combination of red and black, but you can see here that he's got this ball joint here in the arm. He's got a swivel here at the hip. He's got a ball joint in the knee. So it's not a ton of articulation, but honestly, they don't look too terrible together. I really don't think this guy is all that bad. Yes, he's very blocky, but he's kind of got that G1 nostalgic charm. And, you know, somewhere in my house I have a Peacemaker in this style that I'll have to find. But you can see, I feel like it's a fair enough comparison. And they're not even really that much taller. I would say maybe like a head taller, which is really not too much. So these guys should look pretty cool together. So I'm pretty psyched about it. But one day I'll have to find that Peacemaker. But this guy will perfectly do as a stand-in for the time being. So he's very cool. And one last thing I wanted to mention. I know a lot of people, when they get a new mold from Hasbro, you start to think to yourself, what could they possibly remold this, repaint this as? Because Hasbro doesn't really like to make molds for only one occasion. So a lot of people have been speculating that maybe this could be Armada Blur. And I think there's probably something to that, because honestly, all you would need to do is rotate the waist around, which we can certainly do, and then rotate the head around, and you can see that the shoulder pads already are kind of looking like Armada Blur. The arms do bend backwards. So, I mean, obviously, if they were going to make it, they would put the hands on the right side. But I feel like you're already kind of there. All you'd really have to do is remold this piece into some kind of better chest plate. And, you know, you could have a somewhat convincing Armada Blur. I mean, their vehicle modes are even somewhat similar. If you wanted to mold some kind of wings here on the back that would fold up in the vehicle mode, you could even do that. But I feel like there's definitely an Armada Blur hiding in here if need be. Alright, so transformation here for Point Blank is kind of more intricate than you would expect. It's kind of neat. We're going to start by coming around to the back, lifting up this little window piece, and then this entire light blue back piece is going to pop down like so, and then you can go ahead and rotate the head into the body and then push this back up, and then this is going to kind of come up and connect here with the rest of the windshield. Then we're going to take the shoulder pieces, and then there's this kind of weird intricate thing that you have to do where you bring these up but swivel this all around and kind of get this lined up and then bring this around, and it's a whole like weird dance you have to do with the arms here. But you basically want to get them to this point because this has to kind of slide up this curve. So you kind of want to get to this and then slide that up like so. So again, you have to kind of bring this up, bring this down, swivel this. I kind of find it easy to kind of, because this little molded in piece right here gets in the way, so I like to turn it like this and then rotate it because I just find that easier. And you want to make sure that this kind of lines up here, and then once you kind of get to this area, this will kind of slide up the blue piece that's here. So as you bring this up, this will kind of slide up this, and just make sure it's clearing everything. So there you go. Once you have that, then you can bring these in and just make sure you don't mess with that little window piece that we brought up. And then these will snap into each other like so. And there is the entire front of the vehicle mode. So at this point, you're going to lift up this back part like this. And it doesn't like to stay, honestly. I don't know why. I don't really know. I don't think it's a clearance issue. I think it's just the way it's molded. There we go. So spin the waist. And sometimes when you do that, you kind of have to like push the mushroom peg back in because it'll start to kind of work its way out. So if something's not lining up, just push that back in. Then you want to kind of lift these little, so you have these weird little like pieces that are really just here to fill in a space. But you can kind of go ahead and bring these up. We probably will have to move these again later. But basically what they're going to do is there's a little nub right there, which is going to hit into that little spot right there. So that's just going to come up like that. At this point, you can go ahead and just fold these at the knee, right over top of the leg. Move this up if it folds back down. And you want to just kind of make sure there's clearance. So this has to kind of get past this. I really wish this thing would stay out of the way, but it won't. So there you go. Once that's up and you kind of want to push these in, then you will fold the foot down, and that will peg in to that peg on the top there. On the bottom of the foot, there are these tiny little spots right there, which makes it a little difficult later on when transforming it back to robot mode. Oh, stay out of the way window thing. Okay, so there you go. So that's what the full and complete side is going to look like. So we're going to fold this up again, move this window piece, sneak this past this. Sometimes they will pop off. That just happens. It's just kind of a tolerance thing. Instead of breaking something, it just pops off. And then stay up. This will peg into here eventually. I really wish this... I don't know what it is. I think it's just the way it's molded. Alright. What are you not doing? Something's not... There we go. Now we can push this down. This should be all correct now. So there we go. There is our vehicle mode. Now you can see you have these little notches here on the kind of like knee pads. And you can actually bring Peacemaker back in, and you can see how he's got these two tabs. And they will tab right into those holes like so. And that way he kind of fills that negative space between the two legs, which is kind of nice. So let's move the camera down here. But here is the vehicle mode. I think it works. I think it's kind of cool. And like I was saying earlier, you could definitely see how they could make an Armada blur out of this. All you'd really have to do is add some kind of like wing pieces that could fold down here on the side of the legs, which I think is easily doable. He's got some spots here on the side that if you wanted to peg this guy into the side, you could absolutely do. If you like the look of that better. Personally, I do like it here on the back. I think that works well because, like I said, it kind of fills this negative space. So I think that works well. And then let's bring in crosshairs so we can have our two Autobot Target Masters together. About the same size, looking pretty snazzy together. I like that. Now, to be honest, this really wasn't anything like Crosshair's original G1 alt mode, but I don't really know what his original G1 alt mode was. It was just kind of a weirdly shaped car. I mean, all three of them were just kind of weird futuristic cars. So it works. I like the colors. I think these two look cool together. I think this one's definitely a little bit closer to the original G1 toy and character design than this one is. But, you know, if they want to redo him, I'm fine with that. But, you know, for now, I would rather just get a sure shot and use this guy. I really do like the robot mode for him. But in any case, I think these two look pretty cool together in vehicle mode. I like Peacemaker. I don't think he's perfect. There are a couple things that just like minor nitpicks that kind of annoy me. I really don't like all this extra space in between the hips and the kind of crotch area here. Kind of wish you could push these in together. I don't really prefer the G1 cartoon head. I kind of prefer the more G1 toy accurate head. That's a preference thing. I mean, that was a choice that they decided to go with the more cartoon accurate head. And it's fine. It's not a problem. And maybe some people prefer that, and that's great. But just for me personally, I like the more toy accurate head. Because that was also what they used in the Headmasters cartoon. And I really like that fiction, so I kind of would have preferred. Even if they could have just given us a second head. I know, again, we already have the Target Master here, but maybe in some kind of future pack, when they do those things on like Hasbro Pulse, where they give you a bunch of weapons and accessories, maybe they could give us an alternate head, and we could just pop this one off and switch it out. That would be really cool. I think the shoulders are fine. I don't love that these pieces are here. I wish there was a way they could have gone on the back, because they really do get in the way and limit the articulation. And for a character whose whole thing is that his partner turns into a gun, it really would be nice to kind of, you know, wield him in various poses. And unfortunately, you can't even hardly, like, shoot more than just the ground unless you raise up the entire arm, which just, I don't know, doesn't look as great. I kind of wish that you could get a better elbow pose out of it. I mean, it's not terrible, and again, it's a minor nitpick, but I do wish there was a way that they could have had those be on the back. Because if they were on the back of the forearm, I wouldn't care at all. And if there was some way I could just kind of like bend it like this, I know you could do that and this would be on the inside and that looks weird. Like maybe if there was some way that this could swing around to this side and then you could rotate the fist. Something like that would have totally worked, because then you could really get a nice range of posability out of that. So it is a bit of a bummer that this piece has to be on the front. Other than that, I think he's pretty good. I think the legs work. I think that's all really good. So like I said, it's not a problem. It's not a huge issue or anything like that. Just a couple of minor nitpicks. I still think he's a lot of fun. I think Peacemaker is great, even though he doesn't have a ton of articulation. He's got that kind of G1 blocky charm to him that I kind of enjoy. So that doesn't bother me all that much. I like the fact that there's not really any kibble on the back. I like that. I definitely could see this being reused as an Armada Blur. I think that's pretty cool, and that could be a really nice toy if they proceed with that. The vehicle mode, I think, looks good. I like it a lot. The transformation's a little finicky. I'm not a huge fan of these little pieces that hang out here on the side. They're not a problem. They don't get in the way, and you really barely see them in robot mode, which is nice. But just getting that to line up and then the feet to get where they need to be, and everything has clearance issues to the slightest degree. So, again, not a huge problem, not a significant problem, but just, it's a little finicky. But once you get it in the car mode, I think it looks fantastic. So I still recommend picking him up. Like I said, just a couple of minor nitpicks preventing him from being completely perfect in my mind, but not a reason to pass on him. I definitely think he's still worth adding to the collection, and I've been waiting for the Autobot Target Masters for quite some time. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.